Hi, I'm Radhika, an educator in Mumbai, in Amchi, Mumbai. I identify as a Tamil speaking Maharashtrian, having spent all my life here in this state. And I'm passionate about outdoors, about sustainability. And I hope this has been on my wish list for the longest time. I want to attempt the Everest Base Camp, and I'm really prepping hard for that.
Hi Radhika. This is our second episode, and yes, the excitement rides very have high even now, and I am sure it will continue till the very end, till eternity, because every time we think of a topic, there is so much to discuss, there is so much to share. Put together, we have about 5 6 decades of experience that's waiting to burst into expression, right? Even as we are talking about it, I was just reminded of a small incident. This was about 15 years back when I was the head of a school, and I was on leave for a couple of days, I think. And then, as I came out of my office, on when I resumed office and like I stepped out of my room, there was this girl who was from grade 8 or 9, and suddenly she stood and go, "Oh, ma'am, you're back." I said, what really took me by surprise was that they were very alert to the fact, the child was very alert to the fact that the principal was on leave and now she was back. And I honestly, I didn't think that. I always felt that children relate more to the teacher, right? Because the teacher is the first point of contact in a school, and the principal is always the little what to say. Oh,
Big bad wolf.
the big bad wolf,
The
where the children are
teachers
frightened.
are constantly scaring the children. If you
Correct.
don't behave, we're just going to take you out of the principal's room.
There was always, and I mean, I was so happy, and that child's glee or the smile or whatever you call it, it has stayed on in my memory for so long, and I always look back and say, "Wow, a principal really also is in a child's mind when the child comes to school, and rightly placed in the child's memory and mind,
True.
and not like the big bad wolf." So I thought I must share this because it's one of the very pleasant memories of mine of my principal years.
I think that's what keeps us going amidst all the turmoil and all the anguish and all the anxieties that we go through in a day.
Hmm.
Just the smile, or just the quick hug from the little ones, or an appreciation mail, or whatever. That's what keeps us going. So, Asha, what's going to be our topic for discussion today?
I was looking at talking about the case, making a case for professional development, right? All
All
of us
right.
have come with years of what to say, academic qualification. We have come in with some kind of academic training also. It's a B.Ed or a D.Ed, or we have done our masters. Yet, when it comes into the classroom, everything changes, right? Every little situation changes. It all depends upon the children, the dynamics in the classroom, and the teachers, the student, and the school, that and the entire ecosystem. So the ability to do the right thing at the right time and for the right reason is about understanding your situation and your own agency, your own goals, and crucially your options. In other words, it is your situational awareness. So all your training and all your qualifications will help you if you also understand that you are on the stage now and you are going to perform, right? You have to have that situational awareness. So I think this is where I wanted to start this conversation.
That this is indeed a very crucial topic, because I've always debated that, just like a chartered accountant, to maintain their chartered accountant's license, year on year they are expected to undergo some kind of professional development. Medical professionals, medical practitioners, dentists, they need to put in so many hours to retain their professional license. Unfortunately for teachers, we don't have any such licensing body, not in India. In some countries, they do. So, um, it really is left to the schools themselves or institutions themselves to kind of put together a professional development plan over and above the mandated hours. Now CBSE mandates a certain number of hours, the national boards mandate,
Right.
ICSE mandates, Cambridge mandates. So over and above the mandates, do you think that licensing body, which kind of overlooks everything, do you think that would be effective?
Yes, it will make their profession a little more serious, and also it will also get the public to look at the profession more seriously.
Yes.
Currently, what's happening is that the teaching profession is not looked at very, very seriously, right? It's not one of the first choices, or even the first 10 choices of many children, right? It's happening, like we discussed in the earlier podcast. It happens very little by design, more by chance. Okay. Of course, I want my teachers to be passionate about their subject. Of course, we want them to have intrinsic motivation, but we cannot rest only on a very specific subjective element. It's important for them to have the right knowledge, the right skills, and the techniques to be able to teach well. And like you said, licensing, and constantly asking them to renew them will help them be on top of their game.
Yes. So, schools in US and Australia, even many countries of Europe, they ask you to keep on renewing your license as per the requirement of that particular school district. About that, the licensing authorities are looking at whether you have upgraded yourself. And I think this is very, very relevant because students are really, really far ahead of teachers when it comes to tech capabilities, or whether it comes to earlier, I would think that the teacher was the only source of knowledge in a classroom. Now you have all the children in the classroom who have varied sources of knowledge, varied tools that they're looking at, and the teacher really needs to be able to accommodate all that learning and steer them into a right direction. That's all she can do. Now with AI and with so many more things being rapidly introduced into the classroom, teachers need to be on top of their
I really
game.
feel that yes, there's never a dull moment for a teacher, given that she has around 40 students in the class and each one are taking her by surprise in so many different ways. I think it's all my empathies for the teacher in the classroom.
Yes, I must share with you. Last week it happened. We have the smart panels in class, and the teacher had prepared her lesson, and all her resources were there. And simply, one of the students had switched off the main switch from located at the back of the panel, and it was a good 15 minutes wasted to kind of figure out what's happening. Nothing is working. The remote is not working, and the switches are located so far back behind the smart panel. It was a
So
challenge.
they would have completely put her lesson planning,
Yes.
on the back burner, and here she has to bring out her decision making skills, quick thinking, on her feet thinking, and then know what strategies to deploy, so that she doesn't fail in the eyes of the other students. I know it maybe have been a prank played by a student, but allowing that to be acknowledged at the same time, being sure how I want to take forward my class, in spite of this. I think there's a lot on the plate of the teacher. A
True,
smart
true, true that.
as teacher, good decision making skills, like we just said, knowledge, skills. Now, very good decision making is very important. Understanding what strategy to pick up at what time, and I like that we use umbrella term, situational awareness. I think
Yes.
all this is something which a woman who wears many many hats. A teacher is a woman like Durga who has 8 arms, right? She needs to. There's something which will grow every
ten,
minute for her.
10 heads like
Has to
Ravana,
survive, right? If she has to survive, something has to grow up from somewhere every minute.
10 heads like Ravana. Thinking of different things, 10 different things. So, coming back to this need for professional development, I have some views that though we put professional development in progressive schools do spend a lot of resources, money, time, planning, and putting the right faculty for training. Sometimes mapping the right training for the teacher, that could become a problem because usually it's for this training is for all English teachers, this training is for all math teachers, for example, or this training is for all teachers. Sometimes that may not work. You and me, even if we teach the same subject, might be at different levels
Very,
of
very. Exposure.
expertise and exposure. I might need hand holding in one area, you might need hand holding in another area. So, how do we, I've always thought about this. How do we find the gap analysis perhaps? Do we do a rigorous research before we plot trainings? Or this is a I'm always in a quandary, even as a head of an institution.
What
Would this teacher benefit from taking this training or not?
Well, I think one is training which we have to ask the teachers to seek and request.
True,
This
true,
is what I wish to do. We can offer them a bucket list of, uh, trainings that we can offer. And also, what I think works very, very well is putting a coach and mentor in place for
yes.
every teacher. And so, when the coach, the mentor that we have appointed for each teacher, and perhaps each coach has about 4 to 5 teachers, and so she's kind of very minutely, without intervening too much, without interfering too much, she's closely observing the growth and development of a rookie teacher, a brand new teacher, or even a seasoned teacher. Right? Everybody needs a little polish and push. So, if these kind of conversations are held, and it is held at a more at a coach level, that will bring about a lot of difference.
True.
And
So, to have like a coaching mindset and like a mentoring mindset, and maybe pairing two teachers to look out for each other, or set them on the path to success. That's a great suggestion. That they would be more committed, perhaps, if they feel that someone is really interested in my progress. Someone is really looking out for me to succeed and not wanting to perhaps undercut. There are anxieties amongst teachers that if she does better, perhaps she's the one who's going to get the better appraisal, not me. And so all of those things also we need to keep in mind, because they are very, very frail in their and they feel that this why is this happening to me is because am I deficient in some ways, or am I lacking in something?
so here I feel that if we develop an ecosystem of support and scaffolding in this manner, I think we should be able to put to rest some of the insecurity. I have a feeling that, and I have also seen that in many top premium institutions, right? Normally, a head of the institution, an expert in a subject is also always shadowed by 4 or 5, students. They
True.
are very closely watching the teacher or their professor, and they're learning a lot. And then after their sessions are done, they do have these kind of group meetings, huddles, where they discuss every little thing. So it is a mutual scenario, a symbiotic thing for the coach as well as for the people who are getting mentored by that coach.
And
We have to develop this culture. See, if it doesn't exist, we must set it up. If it's already there, we have to perfect it.
coming to, so now when we're talking about professional development, I guess we're talking about in service training more.
Hmm.
So in service training always comes with its challenges. It's so many challenges that within the framework of so many working days in a year, we have to complete school events, our school plans, account for rain holidays or festival holidays, unannounced holidays, election duties, and all of that, and then set aside some time for professional development, set aside time for training. That is extremely challenging. So
Yes.
I was wondering if I was also reading statistics about all of these open MOOCs which are available, all of the courses on Coursera, Udemy, all of these things, their success rate is not too high. Though people start off on a course, maybe, but also not knowing whether they've done it diligently well, whether they've taken shortcuts, they've just cracked the test at the end and gotten a certificate, not sure of how
That's
effective
why
they are.
I felt in the case for a coach or a mentor.
Yes,
It's okay you enroll in one of these MOOCs, but okay, at the end of the day, you have to become accountable to your coach or your mentor. That will kind of address what you were suggesting. At the same time, the point that you made about inset or job embedded training is on the timetable itself, it has to be mandated.
yes,
Cannot pack a teacher's timetable end to end with teaching periods and other responsibilities and non-creative work also sometimes. However, I feel that kind of work also can be done only by the teacher because she is in charge of so many children. Yet, we will have to lighten the load of the teacher so that we build in this. And this is an equally important component of
absolutely.
teacher's timetable. So if even if it's at the rate 80-20 also I'm okay with, or 75-25 also will be a good ratio. Because if the teacher is not learning on the job, then you can find her redundant in a few months. Children are far ahead in the game.
And when we look at the teachers' workloads, there's a lot that they take back home. So
Hmm.
I really feel that I can't expect a teacher to teach 4 5 hours in a day and then set them back by another hour or so to do professional development. It's really not going to be effective if I say, okay, you can teach 7 8 classes out of 9, and then stay back 1 hour after dispersal of children to do your professional development. They're not going to have the mindset nor the energy nor the enthusiasm for it. So as you suggested, 80 20, 75 25, we have to look at it. Perhaps lighten some of the administrative tasks. Teachers always get saddled with a lot of administrative tasks. Those can be offloaded from the teacher's schedule, and we can make way for professional development in the schedule itself, so they don't feel the brunt of it. And like last time we mentioned about burnout, which is very very real, they wouldn't feel compelled to leave the workforce due to this issue of burnout.
So that brings to my mind some very pleasant memories of my early teaching days. I was a very passionate teacher. I came into it by chance, not by choice, like I mentioned last time. Very reluctantly, I stepped into the area of teaching. However, I stayed and I also did a good job of it. That's why I was able to kind of rise up the rungs of the ladder. Yeah, when I think back of my days, I remember I was very passionate and I had this strong intrinsic motivation. I used to love teaching the children. There was a lot of work I carried home by choice again. It was not forced upon me. Why? Because I felt that, see, making a question paper was a very, very creative task, right? And I needed to put my mind and thought process into it. And also preparing my lesson plans was again a very creative thing. I had to design my lessons carefully. I would love to do it carefully. And so I realized that I was not able to do it in the staff room or sitting in the school library. I needed the me time and me space. So after everything was done at home and the children were sent to bed and I had the house to myself, a quiet house to myself, I would sit and work on the question papers and I would sit and work on the lesson planning. I'm just telling you, it's sometimes important that we carry. Why I used to carry work home, I'm not justifying it. It's okay that if people have got that kind of comfort in your school environment, perfectly good. I used to feel very comfortable bringing it home and sitting with my own self and thinking, oh, this is how I want it to go. And so this is how I will plan it. So I need a special time to do that planning. I cannot sit in the midst of chaos in
True.
school. Children going up, coming down, the bell ringing, and the teachers walking into the staff room. It's suddenly tea time, then it's break time, then it's dispersal time. I was not able to do it that way.
True. I also carried question papers. Definitely, I was never able to set it in school because I felt that I need to finish the whole paper at one go. I
Correct.
wouldn't be able to do it in bits and pieces. And to set that one paper at one go, you need a good 2 3 hours, especially if you're setting an 80 mark or 100 mark paper, it would take that long. And of course, I think we belong to the fossil age where we used to write
Question.
we're dinosaurs where we used,
All
yes,
had to go
write the this thing and make the modifications. So it was a ream of paper that I took home, and there were many drafts which were polished before the final. I also had one other reason to take question paper back home, because my children were studying in the same school, and I was ever so conscious that my children shouldn't see the paper. So I would wait well past, I think, midnight, most often like 11 13 12, when I knew for sure that the kids are not going to wake up, and I would sit at that time and finish my question papers, because I was very conscious that if I made it when they were around, maybe they would peek at a question. Even though maybe I was not teaching their grade, they would know the questions, or they would go back and carry that information back to their classmates and peers. So I was very conscious of the fact that both my kids were studying in the same school that I was teaching in. So I had to be doubly careful that I would never ever. I was a biology teacher, so it meant a lot of diagrams, a lot of figures, cutting out, photocopying, cutting out, sticking, pasting. I was very careful about those things as well. I shouldn't leave a part of a diagram out somewhere on the table so that, it could give a hint that, oh, this is the question, the valves of the heart. Oh, this is the question that's going to come up. So steering our conversation back, to professional development, let's look at, an ATP or a 7525. That's a wonderful way of setting professional development. Again, I think we must give agency to teachers to seek out the professional development resources that they want, rather than herding all of them into some common trainings. There might be some common training set out for them because that might be an institutional requirement.
Important. See, a
That
culture
might,
setting. If I want to talk about culture setting, it is a very
yes,
generic thing.
yes, yes.
Induction and orientation, everybody has to go
True,
through.
true, true.
Culture setting, alignment with the vision and mission of the school, that's something which are very generic and every teacher has to go through, right?
And if there is a major revamp in the process, if there is going to be digitalization, if there is a new LMS being introduced, then you need the generic institution-wide trainings. But
Correct.
otherwise,
It's like your assessments, that's very generic. One doesn't have to make it very subject specific. Then setting question papers, some amount of it is
yes,
common,
yes,
some
yes,
amount of specific. So we will have to identify what is common and what is specific. And I also, I would, I really feel one thing which is very important is that we must have an academic research team in a school with a
yes.
team of about 4 to 5 people, who are, their only job is to moderate all this. So that we take it very seriously and deliver it also equally seriously. There should be this academic research team, at least 2 people dedicated to the foundational years,
Course.
2 people dedicated to the preparatory years, and others were sitting with the senior school and the senior secondary school. They are moderating the question papers, they are guiding the teachers, they're helping them out, so that the teachers find that kind of scaffolding at every level, and we are able to maintain quality output.
Perhaps that team could also look at good quality material for the teachers to read,
Correct.
because professional reading is again sadly deficient in most workplaces. Teachers don't have time, and I do agree that there is a lot, but the professional reading now, it's so easy to do it on a tab, to do it on your phone. 5 to 7 minutes of professional reading, a blog, the OECD, the World Economic Forum, the future of work. There's so much that comes from there. And that should trigger off the staff room conversations.
Patients, yes.
I know that staff room conversations can range from clothes to accessories to in-laws to everything,
Online shopping.
but it should also include, because there is so much of peer learning, and peer learning is always been a good source of setting the pace. So perhaps every day, this academic research team can put up one prompt on the notice board there that, let's talk about integration of art into the curriculum. And each one can give their perspective, at least for 5 to 7 minutes, that I think it would make a difference.
I also remember one school I visited, this is about 5 to 7 years back. I was interested in understanding how that particular chain of schools is operating and how they are managing their standardization. And I went to their flagship school in Gurgaon. And I was very happy to see one thing is that their walls on the ground floor. That is a place where parents also walk in, and the entire wall, the bulletin boards on the ground floor, had only pedagogy conversations, different techniques, different strategies, uh, challenges faced, and it was a board set up by the teachers, for the teachers, of the teachers, and by the teachers. And I thought that was splendid, because see, that is where parents are coming in and they're also watching what the school is talking about. We put up a lot of content which is created by the children, or we put out printouts, make it very colorful and all that. But I thought this was a very, very intelligent way of directing the, what to say, the conversations in the school. When they had this entire ground floor, all the bulletin boards had these lovely conversations about how they were delivering the content.
Yes, true. Also, when we look at professional reading, I think we don't mandate any such reading, and we don't, I'm not saying it is good to incentivize it, but definitely there has to be some recognition for someone who's who's read a blog or who's created a blog, there perhaps has to be some space in our staff meetings to acknowledge, even just a simple acknowledgement that so and so has read this blog and has given us a gist of it and would like to share it with us. That can steer the teachers towards doing some kind of professional reading. Again, when we come to pre-service training, there is also such a range of subjects, and some very progressive teacher training schools will include a research component, an action research component, or they will also include blog writing competitions, or they would include so many elements, even though it's not mandated by the UGC or by universities, whereas others will just.
Yeah, we have to make a case for academic research skills in our teachers. It is very important. Otherwise, it's just some content written by somebody which they're delivering in the classroom, right? Unless I understand, I rationalize it, I am able to analyze the content that I'm talking about. I am up. On top of the game as far as the latest that's happening in that particular field. I don't think I have equipped myself well for the student. I'm not doing justice to the child who is waiting to hear. So academic research skills is a very, very important component, and I think we need to instill it into the system in some way or the other. And that is why I'm also making this case for an academic research team, which is the resource in the resource room, make available all these things, and these 5 or 6 people are running the academic research team, and we, as a part of that, about instilling academic research skills in the teachers should be one of the prime areas of focus. What do you think?
And in turn, I think that team should look at passing on some of those research skills to our students. We are so caught up with our marks that we forget that these marks are only going to help you up to this point and no further. Which is why when it comes to universities overseas, I overheard a conversation a few days back where a mother was talking to a friend about her child who was studying overseas in a university, and she was complaining, and she was saying that they have put only 2 lectures in a day. What is the meaning? I'm spending so much lakhs of money to send a child overseas, and they have put only 2 lectures. Then it was the other parent who's kind of telling them that the
The
two
rest.
lectures are mandatory, but over and above, please ask your child to look at the societies, look at the clubs, pick up credit courses, and pack themselves the timetable. No one will make a timetable for you. The child has to learn how to make their own timetable. He said, and she turned around and she says, "What do you mean they have to make their own timetable? Where is a timetable for first year BTech students? And there is no set timetable. These are the courses and these are the professors. Your child has to learn how to make that." So we don't even give that much independence to the students to make their own schedules or to learn how to do things by themselves and to research and find out what it is. How do I do this? I think once
We
the teachers are enabled, they would be able to pass on some of those research skills.
we have to move out of this business of plotting marks, answering the parent for marks, justifying why the child has not gotten a couple of marks. It is important, when I'm asking, taking an assessment, it's important for a child to be prepared and should be performant. But however, I've realized that the ladder was against the wrong wall when I was in school. Ever since, even afterwards when I was in school as a teacher.
Yes.
And it continues to be like that even today. So, in the 40, 50 years that we are talking about, the ladder is still against the wrong wall. What is it? Either the society's expectations have not shifted, or the expectations have shifted, but the comfort lies in sending a child to school and taking answerability from the school, saying, "How has my child performed? And why is he not getting 20 on 20? Why has he gotten 18 on 20?" Rather than focusing on what is it that the child knows. He probably knows certain things much better than what was asked in the question paper. Right? On that particular day, that question paper did not ask a certain question, which he knew very well. Otherwise, maybe the child would have answered that question very well, and maybe he would have gotten 20 on 20, and this question wouldn't have come up at all. So it is about reorienting parent expectations, reorienting the expectations of the school also. What is it
Or
that
the
we
community.
community?
I remember when my son was in grade 10, even my watchman and the lift man was offering him advice because he says, Acha, you're in grade 10. Now you must do this. You must study well. You must do this. So there's so much pressure, even from the community.
Also, subtly and overtly, both ways, you know.
Yes. And there's no need, absolutely no need.
When you turn back, 10th was the least of the problems, right? And parents know this. Parents know this. But they want the children to score very high. I ever turn back and ask the parent, how much did you score in the 10th? Or how much did you score in 12th that you are expecting your child? तभी तो हम चाह रहे हैं कि अभी तो अच्छा कर ले, अभी तो अच्छा कर ले. मैंने कहा आपने अच्छा नहीं किया. And you want to force your expectations on your child's report card? How fair is that to the child who wants to live his life?
So, also I've seen that as teachers, range of teachers that we have in our schools, range of teachers in the sense at various levels of expertise. Is it? I mean, I always have this dilemma that should we be doing a ranking of teachers and saying that she's an expert level or what should be the benchmarking? Should they be? So we have adopted some certain testing agencies to like Center for Teacher Accreditation, and we've asked our teachers to give those tests and used those as one of the rubrics to assess the levels of teachers. But
Mhm.
I'm not entirely convinced that that should be the only.
Very individual person driven system. You maybe strike it very well with a certain set of students. The same teacher may have issues another set of students, right? There's no one formula that fits everything. What you can do is on the basis of experience and the basis of like expertise gained and the basis of exposure, we can put them into a certain category. However, we cannot measure them against marks. We should not do it. It is criminal. It is criminal. We
So,
and we
the results
uh,
from this test itself revealed that the ones who had the excellent marks were not the very effective teachers in class, and vice versa. Perhaps the rubrics were not aligned. Perhaps I
cannot
don't know.
attach to this. You
Yeah,
cannot
yeah.
claim you this is something which is criminal, and I have seen it happening in many places. And people just don't want to understand, or they have not understood yet, or they feel that let's try it out, you know, because that's the way the corporate world is going. And so put every marks to everything and measure a teacher's delivery. It doesn't happen like that.
Uh,
Often the children will automatically tell you, you know, how good and how effective a teacher is because not just it is such a lot of social emotional connect for a teacher, right?
it's
It is
always the emotional. We will always remember the teachers whom we emotionally connected with.
connected with.
I will remember a teacher not for the math or the physics or the geography that she taught me, but for the way she made me feel empowered in the class or
Yes.
made me feel special in the class when she assigned a certain task to me or gave me a certain responsibility. That's always going to be the
So when
emotional.
somebody touches my self-esteem and makes me feel good, I will always cherish the memory of that teacher, right? Because that is what gave me the confidence in my life. Pedagogical content knowledge is very important. I am not taking away the case from that. Your ability to deliver strategies, your lesson planning, all this is very, very important. But what is also important is how well you handhold your teachers. You know, you take them into a group, make them feel wanted, loved, cohesive. Okay, your journey today you have not done well. It's okay. Next time we will perhaps look at it. We are all in it together. If I am able to give them that comfort, if I'm able to tell my children, it's okay, all in it together, right? You are not alone. Next time we can do differently. Next time we can do better. I think all this cannot be measured in marks, Radhika. And that's a big mistake that is happening around.
For
Hmm.
but for whatever it is, we are a huge nation. We have too many students, teachers competing for too less resources, seats. So marks becomes a filter for us, and we filter out on the
Should
basis
not,
of
it
marks,
should not happen.
which should not happen. Thankfully, now many of the what should I say professional journeys even whether if it is not mainstream, are now becoming mainstream. So just today at a social event, I met a parent who was so proud of his daughter. She is a chartered accountant by profession, and she was always very interested in mixed martial arts. And she's today running a mixed martial arts gym and studio, the world class setup, and she's doing what she's inclined to passionately. She did her chartered accountancy and she practiced with her father for a while. Her father is also a chartered accountant, but this is what caught her fancy, and she's so proud of that fact. I said,
So let's design a rubric that helps a teacher enable a child reach its potential. Give me that rubric, and I will say, okay, we should measure teachers' success like this, a teacher's performance like this. Currently, what is happening is completely unacceptable to me.
yes, unfortunately, and we see the repercussions in student suicides. We see the repercussions in substance abuse. We see the repercussions in broken relationships. So I'm not sold on the idea that we need marks, but non-competitiveness is also something which we need to look at. Should we say all of you are winners? Should that lesson that, okay, some will be winners and some may fail, some may win and some may not. That is also an important lesson, which
Swati,
only
very
school will teach.
important here is that you develop an ecosystem where the average itself is very high,
Yes.
right? Your bottom line itself is at 75. You can only be among the good, better, best. Vesa ecosystem, prepare that kind of an ecosystem for a school and a teacher. After, I don't have to measure because I know that my teachers are either good or they can be better or they are the best. I don't have any benchmark below that.
True. I'm reminded of a quote. I forget who it was by, and two people, heads of huge corporates, speaking to each other, and one says that, why do you spend so much time and effort and money in training your people? What would happen if they leave tomorrow? So the other, this thing turns around and says, what if I don't train and they stay with me? you know
I
so
think
if
it's
I don't
make the
train,
society a better place to live in, right? I'm
no,
okay.
if I have average or lesser than average and I'm not working to push them to the next level, and they stay with me for the longest time, that means they're bringing down the quality of the institution.
And I am not behaving responsibly in my position because
Yes.
I have not allowed for growth, right? I cannot be that canopy of shade which doesn't let anything grow under it.
So this really, even when I have this conversation with my team, and they ask me, "Ma'am, I think so and so, we should not do the training with her because she might leave next year." I said, "What if she doesn't? And what if she's not equipped then to take
More
this?"
importantly, what if she doesn't, right? So my other question here is, so what we can do is an interesting, and I mean, taking off from we just, we can really work on designing a very good tool for enabling teachers to reach that level of performance. No?
And I think it should start from goal setting for
Correct.
themselves. Goal setting itself is a powerful tool to set your own goals, irrespective of who's watching those goals. It's
Yeah,
you and
absolutely.
you yourself. Whether it's a professional goal, whether it's a personal goal, whether it's a fitness goal. Without that goal, nothing happens.
So whenever I used to start professional development in the beginning of the academic year, I would first start with aligning your own vision with the vision of the organization. First, you align yourself, then you see where it is, and then you see make those connects with the vision of the organization, and then see how you wish. Then you set your goals, in alignment with your personal vision and the vision of the organization. And then you will see that there is some kind of a journey that you can make personally for the organization and for the society at large. Once a teacher is able to see this mapping, I think after that she's on a roll. She's on an auto process for this.
True, true,
The
true.
person and the profession cannot be removed. First, that is giving us a lot of ideas for the next podcasts. Maybe an interesting, what to say, a conversation about how a teacher can raise herself, her performance. And I think we
Goal
also,
setting.
yes, we'll also give it thought to develop an enabler rubric, so that they are moving from one level to the other level without feeling any less or more than the others, because each one is carrying out a personal journey. So I think, Radhika, we have kind of established the need for professional development. No, we have not invented anything new. This conversation has been happening for decades. I am just reiterating it. You have also reiterated the need for professional development. And there are various aspects from which we can start out. And I would also like to look at what teachers want. Maybe we can invite some teachers to share suggestions on what is it that they would like conversations about. And maybe in our subsequent podcast, we can also invite some interesting, what to say, educators, people who are interested in sharing their experiences. And from there, we can take off. And also case studies is what I was thinking. Interesting case studies can
Yes.
be brought forth in this podcast, and we can understand collectively how we will be able to offer solutions to difficult cases or challenges or obstacles, as the case may be.
Yes, I think case study is a very, very good way to actually learn. When you go to a lot of workshops, there's a lot of learning, but unless that learning is contextualized to your own context, perhaps it won't happen. You might be heading, the demographics of your school might be so different that it may not be possible culturally to introduce certain practices as suggested by the workshop facilitator or the faculty, and then then you would say, oh, it was a waste to attend that 3-day workshop. So contextualizing it and bringing it back and using a case study to kind of make it very real, and I'm sure that between the two of us we have enough material to deliberate upon that.
That will bring more value to the teacher, is what I feel.
Yes, yes, yes. So this is it from the two of us, Asha and Radhika, for Principles for Teachers. Hope you're enjoying the show, and we look forward to your suggestion, comments, and remarks. Signing off for today. Bye-bye.
Principles for Teachers is your platform, girls. Make the best use of it, and we hope to bring more and more content and clarity on many situations that we all face in schools.
Bye.